Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chalavet Movies. My name is John and this video is going to be my entire collection part 8. Now in this video I want to tackle these ones here. This collection, the Italian collection from 88 movies, which is to me is one of the best collections I've collected, and also I have the full collection as of now. And I'm going to try and get these ones here, the first 41 that are in the collection. Now there is some slipcases that go with these titles, but I've chosen not to get them because there's only the far and few between, so I don't really want a slipcase there and a slipcase there. So for uniformity I've kept it there. I tried with these ones that have all got slipcases. I've tried to go back over, but unfortunately these two here do not have a slipcover. They never were released with a slipcover, so I can't go to them ones. So that's as far as I'm going to go back with that, and I'm going to collect slipcovers from the rest of them all the way to present day. Okay, so let's get into this. So okay, let's go through these quite quickly so I don't have a massive running time in the video. Spine number 1 from 1975 is Night Train Murders. I think this line was started in 2015, and this is one of the nastier films you'll see in this collection. It's quite gruesome, and it's some of the things that they show in this film I didn't think the censors would let through. In fact, when I saw this and I realised it was uncut, although I did have it on Blue Underground's Blu-ray, which this one holds up to the Blue Underground one. Will Blue Underground be doing a 4K of this? Possibly. So yeah, that's Spine number 1, Night Train Murders, fully uncut. The next one is a Jello from 1978, Spine number 2. It is The Bloodstained Shadow. Now a lot of these films, when they came out, I thought, wow, I've never heard of that, but I do trust this line to deliver some titles that I haven't heard of but I really enjoy. This is quite a good Giallo. It does remind us a lot of Dario Argento's Giallos, so you can tell where the influence is for this film. Spine number 3 is a Giallo from Umberto Lenzi, the man famous for Cannibal Ferox, or Infamous, and it's quite a decent one. It's another one I hadn't heard of at all, but really interested to get this. Spine number 3 from 1974. Some of Umberto Lenzi's movies that weren't as sort of out and out exploitational ones are quite good actually. He was quite a decent director, even though I thought he wasn't after watching Cannibal Ferox. Spine number 4 is it's from Lamberto Bava, number 4, and it is 1984's Blast Fighter. Now this, if you imagine, I think this is off the back of a sort of Rambo sort of phase that they went through in Italian cinema. This is a blast actually, and pun intended, and I do find this a really good, really sort of fun movie. It is what it is. It's not going to be the best of films, but it's a real sort of exploitational rip-off of the sort of Rambo series. It really is like a Rambo rip-off, but very watchable. Next one is Spine number 5, 1980, one of my favourite ones in this range. It is Zombie Holocaust. Now this is quite a funny film because it's Zombie Holocaust, but it's more like a cannibal film. It's fully uncut as well, and I do think there's a problem with the frame rates in here. I believe that my friend John Hall was telling me that they kind of trimmed about a second off each frame, each scene. When they cut the camera, they'd missed a frame off. I don't really know how that shortens a film, but I do know that that problem is on this one as well. But you can't see it, if I'm honest. It doesn't look as if the film jumps or anything. So this is one of the best banned. Some of these ones were banned or are going to be banned, and this is one of the best banned horror films back in the day. Spine number 6 is from 1983, and it is the Great Jello, A Blade in the Dark, by Lamberto Bava again. This one is one of my favourite Giallos that I didn't really know what Giallos were at the time I saw this movie, but when I saw it I thought, wow, I've got to get more into this sort of type of cinema. And it's very well, it's highly recommended, but it's a very late Giallo actually, because Giallo was sort of run its course by the late 70s, and here it is in 1983, so it's a very latter day one, but it's highly recommended. Next one is a film that a lot of people can't get away with because I think it's boring. Spine number 7 from 1980. It is Anthropophagus, or Anthropophagus the Beast. On a side note, this was re-released in a 2K scan. This one's just a sort of regular version, and this, which it will say on the back, it doesn't say anything about a 2K scan, but on this one it does say 2K scan. So if you ever see these things in like CX and you want to get the best one, look for the one that says 2K scan, not this one, and you will definitely see it on the back, because it's on the back of the case there, and this one here does not have that on the back of the case. Doesn't say anything really about that. Okay, so that's a bit of a heads up for you all there. The next one is from 1977, is Spy number 8, and it is Hitchhike, starring Franco Nero. The picture quality on here is absolutely stunning. It's one of the best picture qualities I've seen in this range, actually. You actually would think you're watching a 4K. Never seen anything like it. I didn't expect anything like it. Some of these ones have got absolutely amazing prints. In fact, most of them are good prints too, absolutely amazing. So this one here is quite, it's another one that's quite nasty. It was, I don't think it was banned, but I think it was like one of them ones that were kind of, you didn't see at all in the video shops, but highly recommended road movie, sort of. If you imagine Last House on the Left in a car. So Spy number 9 from 1988 is Zombie Fleshy is 2, or Zombie 3, Lucio Fulci's sequel to Zombie 2. Wow, that gets confusing. So here is the same film, but it's got an extra disc in it, and the extra disc, it tells you in the back, includes bonus disc Power Lucio Fulci Remembered. I must admit the documentary is not that good, so if you don't get it, you're not missing out much, but you do get an amazing slipcover with it. So yeah, the Zombie Fleshy is 2 and Zombie 3. It's the confusing thing about that whole series, but highly recommended, even though a lot of people don't like it. Next one is another one that you think, wow, I can't believe this is getting released uncut. And it's Spy number 10. It's 1976, and it is SS Experiment Camp. Now, although a lot of these movies, like the Ilsa series and SS Love Camp, they're just the censors in the UK just do not like these at all. And this one is a great film, actually. And the ending on it is a really brilliant ending, and the whole thing, what happens to the main sort of star in this movie, and then his payback and his revenge on it. It's just, it's a one where I thought, wow, this is so crazy that this story is going into that. But yes, of course, it's massively exploitational, and it was banned. It's uncut, but it's got a lovely print on it. But the whole story about what the revenge is about is quite a good story as well, unexpectedly good. The next one is by Ruggero Deodato, and it is Spy number 11, 1976. It is Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man. Now, these movies here, I didn't really know anything too much about these sort of like, what they're called. They've got a genre. It's like a cop movie, although there is an Italian phrase to that. And I went and I thought, well, it's in this thing. I'm going to experience this sort of cop thing. Think of it like a sort of a Sweeney ripoff. And they're really good, actually. And Ray Lovelock here was also in The Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue, which is a brilliant film, which I hope they're going to release in 4K quite soon. And yes, another one of these ones where you think, oh, well, this Italian collection is like embracing crime, they're embracing sort of like horror films, splatter films, cannibal films, and also, you know, they've got a lot of a wide range of movies in here, which is what I like about this series. I think the slasher one is a bit more sort of like hemmed in, but this one can like express itself in different ways. Next up is Spy number 12, 1972. It is The Man from Deep River. Now, this is cut, but I don't mind that, because the scenes that are cut in it are like sort of animal cruelty. It is by Umberto Lenzi. This is the first ever cannibal film. And to be honest, it's a really good film. It's more like a love story. I didn't think I would like it, if I'm honest. I have seen it uncut. But the things that they cut out are things I can live with it being cut out. And to be honest, you can't even tell that they're missing as well. So when you watch this, it doesn't look like there's anything taken out of the film. But the film's quite a good restoration, from what I remember. And it's a decent film. It's not your usual. It's probably one of the best there with Cannibal Holocaust. One of the best stories in a cannibal film. Next one is Spy number 13 from 1977, and it is Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals. Now, this movie is quite misleading, if I'm honest. Yes, the Emmanuel series is basically like an adult series, and this one here was in, you know, it's sort of saying about these last cannibals. It is got a bit of a cannibal thing to it, but it's purely just an exercise in sort of showcasing Laura Gemser as Emmanuel. and it's all right. It's not that great. It's not something that I would have got if it wasn't in this series. They've done a decent job in it, and I don't think, of course, it's directed by Joe D'Amato, so that gives you everything you need to know about it. He is the most sort of like sensationalist in that area in the sort of Italian market, and it shows in this movie. It's all right, but it's not one I would watch very much. I don't know if it's cut, actually. I think maybe a couple of little cuts in that for animal cruelty. Next one is a stone cold classic, one of the films that I just absolutely love. When it was in here, I thought I can't wait to get it. Even though I did own an American one. It's spine number 14. It's from 1981, and it's Burial Ground. It's also called Zombie 3 as well, can you believe it? Although it's got nothing to do with that series. And for me, it's just absolutely amazing. The sort of small boy in here, although he's not a boy, Peter Bark, he plays this great character, and he's sort of very attached to his mother in a strange way. And the film, for me, is one of the best zombie films I've ever seen, and it's very high. If I had to make a zombie top 10, this one would be very high in that list. Very highly recommended. It's not for everybody, but I really love this film. The next one is spine number 15 from 1980, and it is Alien 2 on Earth. Now you think, what, Alien 2? Yes, Alien 2. It is kind of portraying itself a little bit like a sort of semi-sequel to Alien. Now what the premise of this movie is that the aliens come down, I think, on the spaceship to Earth, and they then become on Earth like the aliens. I suppose that's not a bad way to sort of continue the thing on it. Say, like, imagine an alien if they brought the alien back with them. That's quite a good idea. The print on here is absolutely stunning as well. But the movie itself is a little bit crazy, I've got to admit. And it's directed by Ciro Oppolito. Never heard of this director before. I don't think he's in any of the other movies here. But it's entertaining, but it's, wow. I mean, rip-off. Can you know, Alien 2? I'm surprised I wouldn't take the call for that one. The next one is spine number 16, 1977's Mad Dog Killer. Now, is this Sergio Greco? I thought it was Umberto Lenzi, actually. There's quite a lot of Umberto Lenzi movies in this this collection. And it's one of those ones where there's like a man on a run, and a man on the run from the law. He does something crazy, and then they follow him all over the place, and he's just being a sort of like an absolute swine for the whole film, and that the cops are chasing after him. Good film as well, quite brutal in its own way, and another one I never heard of at all until I got this collection. So this collection has widened my scope on Italian cinema quite a lot, actually. The next one is spine number 17, 1977, by Umberto Lenzi. It is The Cynic, the Rat and the Fist. Now this movie has sort of introduced me to Thomas Millian, who is there, who's recently died, I think. And he is, I've got to say, he's a great Italian performer. And this film here is another one. It's one of those sort of crime, like mafiosi type things, and it's a really good film, actually. And I do find that I didn't have much knowledge of this type of genre, but when I've seen these films, I thought, wow. Any of these things that come out a bit like spaghetti westerns, I would always take a shot at them, because 9 times out of 10 I'm going to enjoy it. So that's highly recommended, that one. Next one, spine number 18, is 1986's The Hands of Steel, or Hands of Steel, and directed by Sergio Martino. So you know it's going to be sort of like a daft action film. He does daft action absolutely amazingly. Just think of this as a bit like a sort of Terminator rip-off. Yeah, so it's after the Terminator. So it's preposterous, of course it is. The whole the man who's a sort of cyborg in this is ridiculous as well. But it's very entertaining, I've got to admit. A lot of these films are so ridiculously bad, but you get it right. I have a good time with all these movies. I do find the fact that they're not the best of movies doesn't take anything away from this this type of my enjoyment level of this particular movie. Next one is a Giallo from 1973 to spine number 19. It's 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye. Now, this is one of those ones where you watch it and it's a good film, but you can't really remember too much about it. Now, what I'm going to do with this sort of collection, in essence, is I'm going to go back and I'm going to re-watch quite a lot of these, because I've watched them all. It's not as if I've got these ones lying on the shelf and I haven't seen any of them. I've actually watched the whole collection, because usually when I get them, they only release maybe 2 every couple of months. I'll get them and I'll watch them immediately and have a great time with them. Now, funny enough, when I'm saying that, I can't really remember too much about this, but I remember it to be a decent Jello. Next one is a sort of semi sequel to Anthropophagus, and it is Spy Number 20 from 1981, and it is Absurd, or Anthropophagus 2 by Joe D'Amato. Now this one was banned in the video nasty, the sort of video nasty craze that went on in the 80s, and it's always been a really hard one to get. It's one of the very hardest to actually pick up, especially on VHS. I never saw it on VHS, though I heard about it. And I've got to admit, the print on this is amazing. Now, if you think of Anthropophagus, it's kind of the same story about this sort of fella who's a bit of a sort of like mutant zombie thing. And it's like a bit relentless. There's much more violence. This one's 10 times more violent than Anthropophagus, which isn't that violent apart from the one scene that got it banned. But this one's a really good watch, and actually it's an excellent picture. One of the ones where you go, wow, I didn't think they could ever find a copy of this movie that was such a good picture, because I remember the sort of bootleg that went around, you couldn't see anything. The picture was that dark. Next up is Spy Number 21 from 1971. It's one of my favourite films in this collection, one that I'd never heard of before, and it is Short Night of Glass Dolls. Now, it's directed by Aldo Lardo. Also, he was one who done Bloodstained Shadow. And the story behind this is this guy wakes up after being presumed dead. They take his dead body, but he's not dead, into the morgue, and he's found under a bush, and they take him in, and they're busy doing things on him, and you can hear his mind ticking over to say, I can't believe that they're sort of opening us up and they're doing this and they're doing that. And these people in the morgue realize that this fella isn't dead, but he is dead. It's such a good film for that story alone, the fact that this fella's in the morgue for most of the time, getting cut or not experimenting on, but talked about and putting it into sort of like cold storage. But you can hear what he's thinking all the way through. But the whole story about why is he like that is very interesting, actually, and one that I would have never picked up on from the start of the movie. Highly recommended. Next one is Spy Number 22. It is 1985's Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. Yes, it's as daft as it sounds. This has got animal stuff in it, was taken out of it. It's not too much of it. It's some jungle sort of scenes that some animals get killed, but they've took it out. I don't mind that at all, and it's all right. It's a bit like sort of imagine these like I don't know, like Romancing the Stone sort of rip-offs, and it's like I say, it's okay, but it's very very schlocky. But like I say, I did enjoy it. Next up is a later Lucio Fulci movie from 1987. It's on Spy Number 23. It is Enigma. And it's a one that I've been wanting to watch because obviously I want to watch all of Lucio Fulci's movies, knowing that after maybe about 1983, 84, he sort of went off the boil a bit. And some of his later movies aren't that good. But I did enjoy this movie. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Lovely print on it as well. The next one is one of my favourites in this collection as well. It's from 1979, Spy Number 24 by Joe D'Amato again, is Beyond the Darkness. Now this is the one where this guy he can embalm people or things. I think he embalms animals. His girlfriend or wife gets killed, so he embalms her and brings her back to the house, and he sort of kills people to sort of get stuff to embalm his wife with, and keeps his wife sort of embalmed in the house. It's I just find it absolutely brilliant. I just love this film ever since I saw it, and it was so hard to get, and I think it was probably banned, and it's got some quite brutal bits in it, but I just love the film. For whatever reason, I just think it's absolutely brilliant. I could just watch this film over and over again on a loop, strangely. The next one is Spy Number 25 from 1975. It is Syndicate Sadists. This is another one starring Thomas Millian. And it's another one of these crime ones, and he plays this sort of guy here. He's a bit like kind of like Rambo type of man. He's like an invincible sort of super cop / good guy, and a Dirty Harry type fella. Really good watch it is. Next one is Spy number 26 from 1983 is one of the sort of Mad Max rip-offs. It is 2019, imagine that, after the fall of New York. I love all these films that they put these like wild dates on it, like 2019, imagining when this film is made in 1983. 2019 must seem like a sort of year that nobody would ever achieve, but here we are, way past that, and God knows if they put 2020 or 2021, there's, you know, after the fall of the COVID or whatever. But anyway, this is another Sergio Martino masterpiece. I do love this film. The fella from Anthropophagus plays a bad guy in this, and he's crazy, and I just think that it's one of those movies that I just like, that genre of these Mad Max rip-offs. Some of them I think that they're very misunderstood. Maybe it's a genre that most people who collect horror or sort of this type of movies don't really go much into, but the whole Mad Max exploitation type of movies are absolutely brilliant, I find. Next off is a one that I didn't really care for, if I'm honest, and it is Spy number 27, 1983's Iron Master by Umberto Lenzi. Now, I thought that this would be half decent. It's one of the rare ones that's a 2-disc. You hardly ever get these in 2 discs. In fact, I think there's only 2. And then the 2 discs that came in a blue case. Now, if you imagine, these are all clear cases, and on the shelves a blue case. So I had to change this one and the other one immediately. I don't know why they did that, but never mind. I've got to say this was a bit of a letdown. I was expecting this to be a bit more sort of like a Conan the Barbarian type thing, but I found it to be absolutely ridiculously bad, and not in a good way. But I am going to watch it again. It was one of the ones where I thought if this wasn't in this set, I would have got rid of it immediately. But it's in the set, it's going to stay here. But yeah, is it any good on the second watch? I just remember being thoroughly bored by it all, but I'm willing to give it another shot, because you just never know. I might not saw it in the right frame of mind. If I go into it knowing it's rubbish, I might get more out of it. But yeah, not the best. Next is Spy number 28 from 1972. It is Amok. This is a sort of like comedic giallo type film. It's a bit odd because it's not like, it doesn't really, you can't really understand what it is. Is it a giallo? Is it like a sort of exploitation movie? I'm not too sure, but I remember thinking it was okay, but it wasn't the best way to have it's sort of giallo. Isn't a bit like the comedic part of it was a bit odd. Next up is Spy number 29 from 1987. It is Lamberto Bava's Delirium. Now this is the other one in this whole collection that came with 2 discs. Blue case as well, so I had to get that changed, and it's not a bad film actually. I did expect this to be quite exploitational in a way, but it's not. It's a kind of, you know, murder mystery giallo to a certain extent. Not bad at all. Next one is Spy number 30 from 1974. It is The Perfume of the Lady in Black. Now, I remember this was quite a decent giallo, but I remember thinking it wasn't the best. It's one of the ones where I watched it and sort of zoned out a little bit in it. And on rewatch, these ones, I watched all these ones. I probably watched these ones first, the ones I didn't connect with too much when I first watched it, to see what I think of it on a second watch and pay a bit more attention to it. Next up is Spy number 31, 1992's Body Puzzle by Lamberto Bava. Now, I remember getting this one and thinking, this will probably be very poor. I didn't really think anything. It's one of these ones, a generic title where you thought, oh, they're scraping the barrel a bit. But I tell you what, this is a really good film. Surprisingly good. Much better than I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, that's highly recommended. Although, I don't know if these things are still in print. I don't know. I hardly ever see this talked about or even shown or even to see on the shelves. Next up is Spy number 32 from 1971, and it's Cold-Blooded Beast, and it stars Klaus Kinski. Now, when Klaus Kinski's in a horror film, you just know you're in for a good ride. He plays some strange and sort of quite like menacing characters. He's always got this kind of air of strangeness about him. I remember this one being very explicit as well. But yeah, a decent sort of slasher type giallo. It's more slashery than giallo, but it's got that giallo element into it, like who's the killer with the black gloves on. As soon as you see black gloves on the killer, it's more or less, you can guarantee it's a giallo to a certain extent. Next up is Spy number 33 from 1964. It is The Long Hair of Death. Now, this one really reminded me of a very early called? Mario Bava movie. And this is Antonio Margheriti, which is quite strange. It must be one of his early films, and it is black and white, probably one of the only black and white ones in this series. And it's quite a good, more like a sort of gothic horror story. Next up is spy number 34 from 1988, and it is Touch of Death by Lucio Fulci. This is a very late Fulci one, probably the latest one in the actual series. And I thought it wasn't going to be that good, but I tell you what, it was much better than I thought it was going to be. And also, it's quite gory as well. I thought that these later Fulci films, the gore was toned down in it, but this one is quite gory, and you do see quite a lot of the clips of this in the movie Cat in the Brain. You see flashbacks to movies that Fulci's making in Cat in the Brain, and it does borrow from this film quite a bit. So really, I had seen Cat in the Brain, so I had seen some of this movie at all before, because I remember watching it and thinking, I'm sure I've seen this before, but it's because of the flashbacks used in Cat in the Brain. Next up is spy number 35, 1980, and it is Zombie Creeping Flesh. Now I tell you what, if you want to see the best ever rip-off of Dawn of the Dead, this is the one to see. It's basically as if they've just taken everything from Dawn of the Dead, including the music, and just used it for this movie. It's got some kind of like Mondo scenes in from. It's got like some cannibal element in the start, and it's quite a bizarre film. And I think the stuff they have in here, it's all fully uncut, which I was surprised about. And it's one of the ones that it is daft, it is stupid. The SWAT team they've got in here are ridiculous, but it's one of my favourite ones of the zombie films that nobody really talks about. Next up is spy number 36, and it's 1967's Django Kill, If You Live, Shoot. Now, this is Thomas Millian, and for me, that's a big plus. As soon as I see Thomas Millian, I think, yep, that's a good start. And it's a great spaghetti western. I'm a big fan of spaghetti westerns, and this was probably the first spaghetti western that was put into this set. Like I say, you can have a lot of different genres in here, and yep, this was a good film, and also another Django film that doesn't star the same Django. You hear a lot of that with Italian cinema. Next one is spy number 37 from 1971. It is In the Eye of the Hurricane, and it's brilliant, I've got to admit. You've got like a sort of murder mystery, who's doing what's going on, and the picture quality in here is absolutely stunning. Yes, it's from a 4K transfer. So that shows you that they're putting some. They're not just getting some bargain bin prints from places like Vipco used to do. They're really putting some time and effort in this series. So I do think if you're somebody who likes collecting Italian horror film, you want to see some maybe the best versions of films. The 88s are sort of knocking out the park, because sometimes these films have been released abroad, and sometimes you think, they might be better abroad. But I think 88 are starting to be contenders for the throne in releasing the best prints of this type of movie. But I did like this movie quite a lot. Next up is spy number 38, 1977's Watch Me When I Kill. What a sensationalistic title that is. I remember watching this film and thinking, yeah, it's really pretty good. I'm sure this was released on Shameless on DVD, but really happy to get it on Blu-ray. And yeah, good film, good giallo. Next up is spy number 39, 1990's A Cat in the Brain. I was talking about this before. This is Lucio Fulci's, sort of say, is probably his last great film. He stars in this film as himself. He's sort of going crazy in the movie, and he's having flashbacks to movies that he was doing, and he's sort of copying them, I think. It's quite a strange story, but very gory, and yes, it is his last great movie, but highly recommended. Great title as well. Next up is spy number 40, 1968, and it is The Mercenary. Now this is a sort of big budget kind of spaghetti western starring Franco Nero, and it's one of the. I thought that this was when they were going to be releasing spaghetti westerns that were quite poor, but this is brilliant actually, and it's very. I think that this was quite a big film back in the day, but it's one of these ones that sort of fell by the wayside, and I'm really glad to see this. Lovely print as well. Stars Jack Palance as well as this sort of strange sort of. I don't know if he's the bad guy. I think he is the bad guy in a sort of way, but yeah, very good. One of these like films that I would have never known about if it hadn't been for this collection. So last in this video is going to be Spine number 41 from 1967, and it is Navajo Joe. Now this stars Burt Reynolds in one of his early roles, and I think the main thing about this movie is Burt Reynolds' wig. I think he was so annoyed by the wig in this that he sort of just turned his back on it and didn't want anyone to know about it, and it was a bit of a laughing stock in the sort of film world. But so I was thinking to myself, I bet this is a really bad film because of that. But I tell you what, this is a good film. It's so violent as well. It's one of those ones where you think, oh, it's just going to be an average sort of 1960s Western. But it's a lot more than that. And but these two here were the ones I would have wanted to get and put the slipcovers on them, but they just don't have slipcovers at all. But I think Cat in the Brain did. So you would have had Cat in the Brain, and then you would have had these two in the middle before you got the slipcovers. So that's why I didn't go back any further. But Navajo Joe is much better than I thought it was going to be. So that's another one where you think, right, these films are opening me up to this extra sort of part of cinema which I didn't really know about, and I wouldn't have bought this at all. But I'm really glad to own this, and this is a very watchable film as well. Even though try not to look at Burt Reynolds' wig too much. Okay, so that's that part over with. Next part I'm going to do me slipcovers in this series. Okay, so thanks once again for watching. You take care, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.